Hello and welcome to this week's Positive Future for Health podcast. And I am your host. I am Althea Finch, creator of the Pain Free Method. How to be pain free by tuning into you. You can find out more about that at painfreedom.co.uk. And as well as teaching people how to be pain free with my methods, I also am very, very conscious that there are so many amazing things out there, like counselling and all sorts of natural methods. And that's why I started the podcast a couple of years ago to bring in natural health experts and positive thinkers to help all of us. So, without further ado, we have the lovely Kathy Jaloussis, who's going to be talking about counselling. So, Kathy, before we get into all of that, can you tell us about yourself? How did you get into it all?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to the podcast, Althea.
You're welcome.
Um, how I got into counselling, I guess from an early age, I always knew that I wanted to help and support people, but it took me a while to work out what that picture looked like. So I started out working in corporate roles, doing different things over, quite a few years. And as I was working in corporate roles, I decided to do a psychology degree, which I did as a mature age student. And while I was doing the degree, about halfway through, I changed professions. I was interested in healthcare. And as I said, supporting people, working with people, understanding different people. So I started working in residential settings with
Well,
people who
well, what,
had.
what, well, what got you there in the first place? I'm interested in you. I mean, we all do things for reasons. Why not just carry on in the corporate and carry on? What was that switch for you? Why
uh,
did you think of counseling or helping people? And
I wanted to do something where I felt like I was making a difference. And I think in the corporate world, I was making a difference, but it didn't resonate with me. And I really wanted to do more. And I wanted, as I said, I've always been interested in learning more about people, the brain, how it works, all that side of things. And I think my earlier experiences of growing up have probably also helped me to understand the challenges, emotional challenges that one can have growing up in life, having
mm,
different experiences. And, I think that led me on to, wanting to do a degree, which I did in psychology. And, I realized that um, I have, I mean, I work with adults and young people and children at one point, but I
mm,
have a real passion for wanting to help young people and adults.
yeah.
Um, I see
What
myself as a little bit of a helper, I think,
yeah,
as a
beautiful,
person anyway.
beautiful. And Sarah says sharing is caring, and it is. Can you tell us, is it okay to share some of your personal experiences? What kind of triggers that, if that's okay, what were the triggers? What were the key turning points or life learnings? We've got life learnings. No, I have.
Life learnings. I think when you're younger and growing up in your family environment, you're very guided by the environment that you're in, your parents, their experiences of parenting. They're doing the best job that they can with the resources that they have. um, but that can also have a different impact, both positive and
Yeah.
negative. And, I think my experiences of growing up sort of, I felt that I didn't always have a voice, and I wasn't in control of, I guess, the outcomes of what happened. My parents, they separated and eventually divorced. And, so there's a lot that I saw of my own experiences. And I think as I was growing up, I really I really wanted to make a difference with others. And at first, I thought it was being a teacher, um, and various other roles. But I realized that no, actually, I really want to be able to help people navigate difficult emotions, and be able to explore those. And
Yeah.
when they're struggling with that, I want to be able to give them the space, the safety to be able to open up and give themselves a voice when maybe they haven't had that opportunity. So
Yeah.
I do
Because
feel I do
sorry.
feel that, my experiences have allowed me to have a deeper empathy for
Mm.
a lot of different issues and circumstances and conditions that come into my practice.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? That when we go through life challenges, you
Mm,
don't have the resources when you're little or younger. We get into these sort of life challenges, and but then it gives you the resources, the true resources, I think, isn't it? Because you've been through it, you
mm,
know the struggles you had, and then that lovely divine sort of gift of wanting to help people that you're giving out there. But then it's because of what you've been through that you can help. And what sort of so it's the emotional navigation of what kind of things do people come to you for? Is it just divorcing parents, or what sort of issues do people have that come to you? Do you help with?
a range of issues. I mean, at the base of most things is relationships. So
Mm,
I'm working with relationships, including the relationship between me and the person that I'm working with, because that's really important. That's
mm,
about building trust and building a safe space so that they feel that they can start to explore what's going on for them.
mm,
And I guess what that means for them is that they're having a relationship of a different kind.
mm.
So they're able to start building, ideally, a positive relationship with me, where that allows them to go deeper. And the deeper they're able to go within themselves, the more they're able to explore and think about and address. If there's things that they want to address, then I'm very much guided by the person in front of me. So
Mm.
how open they may be to to um, wanting to have a life that is different to how they are at the moment, wanting the picture to be different, wanting to be
Yeah,
doing something, something else other
yeah,
than, the space they're in.
yeah. Because you're sort of holding the space. You have the emotional history and knowledge. And how do you what happens? So they're obviously wanting help because they're with you, aren't they? They've chosen to get help.
Mm,
And what when they come to blocks, because there's always blocks. Um, how do you handle that? Is it in your counseling training, or like, I know
mm,
lots of people use different things like EFT and all sorts of different
mm.
things.
I mean, I
How do
wish it
you?
was in our counselling training, but
Oh,
it's not that prescriptive, because
oh,
I'm really working with the person in front of me, and it's not a one size fits all.
mm,
So, what if I have somebody that is, finding it difficult to engage, um, that, perhaps there's lots of silence, which, I have to say that is not a bad thing, because I
mm,
do also see silence as a space for people to be able to think about things. But that
mm,
can also invoke anxiety in people. And when I'm getting to know someone, and when they're getting to know me, I might use different tools to help them open up. So the first session that I have with a person is an assessment session, and that is quite prescriptive because I'm asking a lot of different questions. I'm getting an idea of the person's life, what has brought them to counselling, and then at the end we think about what they'd like to get out of the counselling. And I use measurement tools. So the first couple of sessions, it helps. I'd say the first four are about me getting to know the person and also about them getting to know me, how I work.
Mm.
If the person is struggling, then usually when I use a measurement tool, we go through the different aspects of the measurement tool. So the measurement tool I use is a core form, and it asks 10 different questions about different aspects of a person's life, including anxiety, how you are at reaching out to people. Do you feel like hurting yourself? Sleep? Are you happy? Are you doing all the things you want to do? And so I use that as a guide to also encourage them to talk a little bit more about, what that means to them and why they have, chosen the answers that they have. And that can often open up other things.
Mm.
I also work with young people. So, some of the tools I use with young people might be different to adults. I have.
What age do you start from with
So
people,
I start
young
from
people?
11. I have worked with children from about 6, but over
Mm.
lockdown, I found that really difficult working with children online because I really feel that they need a physical space with
Mm.
play and toys and things. So,
Mm.
I can work with children, but now I'm focused on young people from age 11 right up through to older people. And I have a number of different tools that I use at different points. Actually, I've got a couple here on my desk. So one of the things I use is blob cards, they're called. These are teenage blob cards. Um, and
Oh, is
it
that like the sort of butterfly or the elephant? What do you see? The ink
well,
spot.
it's these are actually quite quite direct and quite telling. I'll just show you. I mean, this is very, whoops, very
Put it
direct.
right up. Put it right to the camera, to the dot in the middle of your screen.
Oh,
Oh, down a
hang on.
bit, down a bit. No, right, that's it. Hold it
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
What's that? Arguing or something? What's that?
It's arguing, and there's a knife present.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, this is. I give people a choice of cards that they can use, and they might go through those cards. They might go through. I've got some mood cards as well, and other things that I use. So if and I've actually used some of my cards and postcards with adults as well. If they're finding it hard to engage, I might say, would you like to pick some cards that resonate with you? And I don't put a limit on it. Just pick up whatever you feel resonates with you, and then we start to think about the card. And if it's an emotion card, I don't put an emotion on it. I say to the person what's happening in the picture. Um, and and so we think about that, and then we start to connect that to what's going on for them in their
mm.
life.
So it's all about getting somebody to express and get in touch with what's what they're experiencing. And because I know with my work, it's people experience, well, I deal with physical pain, but it could be a behaviorism or always attracting the wrong people or the family's always against them or something.
Mm.
It's an experience. And then we're very, very triggered in this state. Or if you've been through trauma or something, of course you're going to be in a triggered
Mm.
state. I've even noticed my own behavior as you notice things, um, then you become aware of it rather than just reacting off something. So is it all about getting people to connect with themselves in different ways, to express themselves?
It is, it's very much about encouraging them to connect within, because we're
Mm,
not all connected to, what's going on inside our emotions. Some
yeah.
people can feel very disconnected,
Mm,
and not be able to access some of those emotions. So, like your work, Althea, my work is also about trying to connect with what's within, trying to
yeah.
to encourage them to connect with what's within.
Mm, mm. I saw what's that? Did you see Goodwill Hunting, that film with
Mm.
um
Yes, I have seen
Robin
it.
Williams?
Yeah.
Is that a true likeness of counselling? That it wasn't until he finally was the boy allowed the therapist to um al he allowed himself to be connected to a core incident of trauma, and then everything changed. Is that
Mm.
story, is that film,
I mean,
is it
it
true?
it has been a while since I last saw that film, but I do remember parts of it, and what I remember is that, I think the main character was Will, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the young
Um,
lad. Yeah.
over time, built a positive relationship with Robin Williams, and um, that is the basis of, of any positive outcome in counselling, is to be able to build a positive relationship.
There's got to
Because
be trust, isn't it? I mean, if you don't like your counselor, you're not going to really share much, are you? And
trust is paramount.
trust. Yeah.
If you don't have trust in that relationship with your
Mm,
counselor, it's going to be very hard for the person to feel like they can open up safely and talk about things that are really intimate and personal.
mm,
So
mm,
yeah, trust is really important, and Will was able to build trust in Robin Williams. And I think I remember at the end there was a hug.
mm,
Um, and I think through, because he saw him over a long period of time.
mm,
And I think, having that stability in Will's life allowed him to feel safe and to
mm.
gradually be able to open up and access some of those painful memories and trauma that he had experienced.
Because I know with my work, it's often when we experience horrible things as children, as children, we take things on board. Literally,
Mm.
it becomes us. We don't even think about it. We just live that experience. I know, I had childhood things, and I didn't talk about it for 30 years. And
Mm.
analyzing it, I'm like, well, of course, because the rule I picked up was don't talk. Nobody
Mm.
wants to hear you. So I wasn't consciously thinking that, but my behavior was don't go there, don't go there. Nobody wants to hear it.
Mm.
Analyzing it. And
Yeah.
in that Will Hunting film, the boy had been beaten or abused or something by the father. And in that hug moment, in the critical point, the character Robin Williams as the therapist, he said, "It's not your fault," and it
Mm.
brings me to a moment.
It was quite an emotional
Mm.
movie. Yeah.
Owning your feelings and connecting to the traumas that you've experienced. Is that what you do? Is it to get them to connect to them inside what they
Yes, yeah. And just going back to Goodwill Hunting, I think, what I would say is that Robin Williams helped Will to find some acceptance within himself
mm,
around the trauma he had experienced and the part he played in it, that it
mm,
wasn't his fault.
mm.
And I think that's,
Yeah.
that's really important. That was part of the work that they did together.
Mm,
um, and trauma is a lot. Generally, working with someone with trauma is longer term. It's not short term
yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And it can be very much about chipping away. um, in my experience of working with trauma, um, it can be very small steps to start with. And those steps could just be creating a safe, trusting space,
Mm,
um, and a stable place. So that person comes to you each week at the same time. It's
yeah.
something that is stable in their life. And then
Mm,
from that, I'm very much guided by the person, because with trauma, um, it's got to be gentle, so I'm very
yeah.
much going at the pace of the person.
Yeah. Because
And
it's their life, isn't it? You can't push them. It's their
mm,
life. It's their pathway. And so it can take a long time. And I hear that it takes a long time. Could you share with us some experiences of people? What did they come to you with, and what was that journey like? What were the results for that
so
person?
the sort of people I work with all issues. So grief and loss, family relationships, intimate relationships, friendships, all relationships. But also things around gender identity,
Mm,
things that might be more in the here and now, like work-related stress or grievances at work, something that might be going on right now that may not be so much connected to the past, although I am a big believer that somehow the past, your earlier experiences will come to things in the
mm,
here and now. So
mm,
part of my work is connecting with earlier experiences and
mm,
seeing how they impact the person now. But just
definitely.
going
Yeah.
back to the other things that I work with, I also work with neurodivergent conditions like ADHD, um, uh, autism, Tourette, dyslexia, and other conditions that are neurodivergent. Um, yeah, trauma. Uh, Yeah. I mean, I
It,
work
do-
with
it
I work
does.
with all issues. There isn't many things that I don't work with, but something just came to mind. I'm not a psychosexual counselor. So if I did have someone come to me around those issues, I would refer them on. Or if I felt that someone required specialist, would benefit from specialist treatment, then I would refer them on to somebody else.
Yeah. And that's a good, isn't it? So there's that safety valve of it's not your speciality, but I know somebody who can help you, sort of thing. Um, and I
Yeah.
think the way we are today, I see it as like a sum total of course, our behaviorisms and the world we live and the situation the life we live, people around us, or your beliefs about the world. It can. I find it's very, very typically does go to early childhood.
Mm,
And yeah, so I see it as like a natural path that okay, you're
yeah.
behaving like this, you're feeling like that, you're experiencing like that, but where's this coming from actually? What's the early triggers?
Mm. And I
And
think, sorry,
please,
something you said earlier about not feeling like you had a voice,
mm,
not feeling like you were able to talk about things is, it's really important in my work to make sure that person feels like they have a voice. So to feel heard, to feel listened to create that space where they're able to name things that perhaps were forbidden at home or
yeah,
in other environments. And I find that quite a bit with trauma work, that people are closed down. And it's about kind of building that resilience and that emotional resilience within them, and helping them realize their potential, whether
Mm.
it's around like, one exercise that I do, and I do this with adults and young people, is I am. So just saying to the person, we grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I say to them, I want you to write down all the things that you feel you are. Don't put a lot of thought into it. Just write down whatever comes into your mind. And that allows them just to free flow, just to write whatever it is that's coming into their mind, and to access those things that perhaps they don't allow themselves to access. And even if it starts off with, I am a daughter, I am a sister, things like that. I am a piano player. We build on that, and we keep that I am list, and we add to it during the therapy as we go along. And we
Mm.
think about, what that means, what those things mean to the person. And that's one way of helping them get in touch with, um, perhaps things that are being pushed down or not recognized by their family.
Mm. Because it can be negative things too, isn't it? It's, I am horrible. I'm argumentative. I'm this. I'm that. Do
Yeah.
you, do those things come up too, or and then
Sometimes they do. And it's an opportunity to explore what that means, and then we
yeah.
go into that and think about what that might look like.
Mm.
Where do you feel that? Um, and is there a voice that's saying that to you?
Yeah.
Where could the voice be sitting? And
Mm.
is it a particular person's voice? So sort of exploring it, in different ways to establish where that's coming from as much as we can, and then to think about, perhaps how we can quieten that voice and make the voice within them bigger.
Mm. So their own kind of value comes into play here,
Yeah,
and the unhelpful patterns and thoughts and whatever it is subside because you're filling the space with what you want, who you want to be, who you are.
yeah, yeah. Getting
Yeah.
in touch with, the best version of them, I
Yeah.
guess.
Wonderful. So it's sort of strengthening their character, their awareness about themselves. So if they have come from traumatic backgrounds, that step might have been missing. The growing up step
Mm,
might have been missing in some
mm,
sense. So it sounds like a big part of it is lots of empathy, safety, trust, creating a space where they can explore and express who they are and how they feel and what problem is going on about them.
mm.
And off camera, we're talking about my people who are in my world are typically suffering long-term chronic pain and conditions. Do you ever treat people who have physical um, challenges, problems, pains?
I do, and I have done, um, both short term and longer term. I was just thinking about, because as well as having, my private practice, I work in a secondary school, a
Mm,
local secondary school, and I've worked for, talking therapies as well.
mm,
And the model that they use is a short term model. And, the area that I worked in, can be quite deprived and very mixed in culture. And I had quite a few clients that came to me with, chronic pain, um, ongoing, something that had happened, um, through the NHS that had left them feeling a certain way. So, it's, while I can't take that pain away, it is, helping them come to terms with where they're at, having a voice to be able to talk about it and think about it together, and maybe find some tools and some resources that are going to help them going forward. So that does make me think about one of the tools that I like to use, mindfulness. And mindfulness has been very transformative for me in my life. And I feel that it is something that has helped me take a step back from different situations, circumstances, emotions. And so I did a mindfulness course some years ago, and really liked it, and really liked the way it made me feel when I used it. And I thought, I'd really like to be able to use this with my clients, because it really made a difference to me. And so I did further training at the British Mindfulness Institute, and I've used it ever since that training. It can be really good for a lot of different people. It can be good for stress, some anxieties, low mood, exam stress, work grievances, maybe taking a step back from a relationship issue, lots of different things. But I will also say that not everybody, it doesn't resonate with everyone. Some people say, at the end of a mindfulness meditation, we think about how that was for them. And some people say, I feel really relaxed. I feel really sleepy, but it made me feel calmer. But I've also had people that have said, no, I didn't like it. It didn't do anything. And that's absolutely fine. We know that is a tool that, is not going to be for you. But for the people that it does help, it can be really beneficial in helping them take a step back from situations. So, mindfulness is it's focusing on the here and now. So it's not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. It's not thinking about what happened yesterday. It's focusing on right now. And what that allows you to do is to kind of push that aside for the moment. Give yourself a little bit of breathing space. And it can be helpful. And it has been helpful, not only in my neurotypical clients, which is my general clients, but also neurodivergent clients. I have used it, and there is studies that show that it's both useful, and I've listened to podcasts and heard experts say that it can be useful, but also not useful. So, like working with neurotypical people, we might try it, and it has been useful for a number of my clients who are neurodivergent, but not all of them like it. So it's it's similar.
Horses for courses.
Exactly. But it's something that I'll try if it feels appropriate for that person.
Perfect. So should we have a little try at it now then? Are you ready to guide us?
Yes.
What do you want us to do?
So
how do we get ready for this?
People might like to take off their video, because I do encourage you to close your eyes, but if you feel more comfortable opening them, that's absolutely fine as well. And I'm taking this mindfulness exercise. It's a combination of a little book that I have called the little book of mindfulness, which has been like my little Bible over the years, and, improvising it. Okay. So, and I am thinking that you're also going to be part of the mindfulness.
Absolutely. I'll go on to mute. Go on to mute. But
Okay.
just to let everybody know, how long are you going to take us through this? Just so
It will
an
be
idea.
about 5 minutes.
Cool. I
Okay.
will mute and leave you to it. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So just being in a comfortable position, and if possible, uncrossing your legs so that you've got the energy that's running through your body while you're doing the exercise. Now, when you are ready, I want you to just start focusing on your breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. Noticing the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. And if you haven't already, just gently close your eyes or keep them in a soft focus. As I mentioned, you can also keep them open if you want to. And just allow the sounds to enter your awareness, the sounds around you that you might hear, and let them pass like clouds passing by in the sky. There could be sounds from near or far, coming and going. Just let go of labeling the sounds, a car, a bird, a plane. And without getting involved in the sounds, just continue to focus on your breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. You may notice as you're breathing that you have thoughts that come into your mind. And that's perfectly natural. We have thousands and thousands of thoughts that we think about every day. So if you do find that your awareness is going over to thoughts, just be aware that there are thoughts, but without going into any detail of what they might be about, just gently and without any judgment on you, bring your focus back to your breathing. So it's natural for your mind to wander, and you may find that your mind starts to wander again to different things. But just if it does, don't go into any detail of what it's about, but just acknowledge that that's there, and then bring your focus back to your breathing. Start to focus on some of the sounds around you. Become more aware of your surroundings. as you're becoming more aware of your surroundings. When you feel ready, you can come back to your room and open your eyes.
Lovely. I needed that. It's
I
been
think
busy this morning.
we all need that at different
We all
points.
need that. We all need that.
I'll
I
be
find that,
honest,
sorry.
I'll be honest, I did do a mindfulness meditation before the podcast today.
It just settles you in, doesn't it? You find your
Mm.
peace. You just find your connection, your flow, no matter what you're feeling, isn't it? And Rose says thank you.
You're welcome,
Um,
Rose.
and
Yeah, it
mm,
just it can be the thing that just allows you, as I said, to take a step back, give you a little bit more breathing space.
definitely, definitely. Okay, so we're going to open up for question time. So you can talk to you can ask the questions to Kathy. So I made it so you can unmute. Just unmute when when you want to have a chat to Kathy, and fire away. Do you have any questions at the moment? Just can you unmute yourself? Or if you wave, and I can unmute you for you. Anybody want to speak to Kathy? Here is the moment. And Sarah says, trust is a basic pillar for
That's right.
openness and honesty.
Yes, I did see that comment earlier, Sarah, and that's absolutely right. It's the basis for any relationship. If you are able to create a foundation of trust, whether it's a friendship between a parent, an intimate person, um, it really holds, and is very telling with how that relationship will prosper, or where it will go, what will happen. So equally, if that trust is broken, then that can also impact on that relationship. And sometimes, more than sometimes, actually, it can impact on other relationships, uh, especially if that trust in relationships, may have been present when you were younger, and that trust was damaged. That can impact on your relationships as you grow and develop.
Sarah, do you want to unmute and have a chat? You're welcome if you want to. And Janet says, many thanks for the meditation. Typically, how long does it take for therapy to have a positive effect in young people? Janet, do you
Mm.
want to unmute and have a chat yourself? I can read it out if you want and carry on from your text if you like.
Hello, can you see me now?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't really have anything to add to that. It's just that most
Mm.
people, when they go into therapy, often ask the question, well, how long is this therapy going to take?
Yeah.
How long is a piece of string? But I wondered if Kathy had a sense of timing at all.
Mm. So, um, the way I'll answer that question is to just think about a couple of different environments that I work in. So the school that I work in, generally, I work with students. It is supposed to be a short-term model, but I have found that there are students I'm working with currently that I've been working with since June last year. And so there are circumstances when I can, and when I sort of put up a fight to work with them for longer. And that's because the issues that they bring are not short-term issues, and that I feel that it's impacted them to a point where it could impact their schooling. And because I'm working in the school environment, I have a good case for wanting to support them for a bit longer. And I am fortunate enough to have a really supportive manager who has supported me in those situations. In my private practice, when I work with young people, it's open-ended. And, as I mentioned, the first session is an assessment, and we make a goal. So I like to make what's called a SMART goal. People may have heard of that before. It's sort of specific, measurable, achievable, realistic timeframes. Sometimes the words change around, but that's basically what it means. And so we make a goal that we can continue to review over the course of the work. And that, alongside the measurement tool that I use, helps us to review things. So in my private practice, I might say, let's start with 10 sessions. But, I always say, it's not set in concrete, and we will review it as we go along and see where we go from there. But equally, if at the beginning I see that it's going to be long-term work, I will also say to the young person that, this feels like we're going to need some time for this, some time and space, and that it may not be short-term. So it really depends. As you said, Janet, how long is a piece of string? I have had young people that have come to me, and it started out as a short term and a particular issue, but they ended up being with me for about 3 years, because as young people grow and develop, things change and different things come up as well. And so we worked with not just what the person originally came, but there were things that came up during the work that we explored together. So there's that side of things as well. So yeah, in answer to your question, I can't really give you a definitive answer. It really depends on the young person. It could just be getting them through an exam period, which might be short-term work. But it could also be a family breakdown, which might be longer term work. And, if I'm working in a shorter term way, then I have to, I guess, I don't know if fast track is the right word, but I'm always conscious of the ending. And so we try to work with building that resilience, helping them find tools that are going to help them manage when they no longer have that counselling space once a week. And yeah, I guess ways to manage overall.
So for the younger children, are they generally, do the parents generally get involved as well in the counselling, or it's just you and the child one-on-one?
So if it's coming through my private practice, generally the parent is the person that gets in touch with me in the beginning. And so I'm dealing with them in the beginning, but I then ask the young person if they would like to be included in emails, or if they would like me to email them. And I really only from that point involve the parents if there's a safeguarding issue. So if I feel that the young person may be at risk to themselves or someone else, or, the police might be involved, that's the only time that I may have to breach that confidentiality and speak to a parent. But otherwise, it's just myself and the young person, because, as I said earlier, the relationship is the most important thing, and trust is the biggest basis of that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Janet, for your question. And Sarah would like to have a chat too. Do you want to click on that? Click on that.
Oh, yes. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello. it was very interesting, actually, a lot of the things that you discussed and said. And the latter comment, the discussion, I just thought that was quite interesting because I've become really, Althea said about a long term, I've discovered I've got MS because I went through a divorce, and I think it all triggered it all. The neurodivergence in me all got triggered. And I do, part of my divorce, before I divorced, I've been talking about my son. I should talk about me, but my son, I realised I've probably got ADHD and my husband has got undiagnosed Asperger's. So, and I thought my son, I think, has got some of inherited some of the characteristics from both of us. And during the divorce, I took him to to a counsellor, and basically he got discharged because my son is intelligent and answered all the questions how he thought he had to answer them. So basically, nothing. He just got discharged as normal. And I think he's got something going on. And I don't know how to reinstate that.
Yeah. It's not uncommon. It's something that I have seen. I mean, I don't assess
No, I don't need to make any
ADHD,
comment. Yes.
or autism, but it is something that I have seen before because someone might be high functioning and they might answer the questions and they're very articulate, that they go under the radar,
Yes.
which is really difficult for you. I can see that. I think the avenues to go down for a diagnosis for your son would be CAMS, which is it's quite a long waiting list because it's a free service. Or there are services out there that do assessments for ADHD, autism. I can give you the name of one particular, if you want to look into that. And it also gives you, some information. You can call them up and maybe ask them about what their process is. It does have a cost, and it isn't. It's about £1,500 average for an assessment. But if you want to go down that private route, I know people who have gone down it, and the relief that they feel knowing that, and then being able to then sort of think about what their next steps are is, you can't always put a value amount on it.
No, you can't. And I think it's a lifetime investment because I never realised I've probably got ADHD. And that's what the neurologist said. And I think it was part of this MS it's come out was worse. And I think the MS in my brain has probably caused me to behave like that. And I'm thinking when I did work I was given my own office because I couldn't stand all the noise in an open plan office. Like I was the only scientist that got put in an office. All the medics had offices and me. So, and I just think you can't put a price on things. And I don't want to talk too much, but that's part of the ADHD. But I just think you don't want to label people. And I think, oh gosh, this MS, I refuse to be labeled by it. And I'm just trying to, with Althea's help, I'm just trying to manage my brain and just try and breathe and everything. But with my son, I don't want to be labelled. And my husband was never diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm sure he's got ADHD by the way he's treated me.
Yes.
Labels are sorry.
I was just going to say there are quite, in my experience, there's a lot of undiagnosed ADHD and autism that I'm coming across in my work. I would say about half of my clients at the moment are neurodivergent, and not all of them have had a diagnosis. So they feel these different symptoms and they suspect. And so for me, and probably like Althea as well, I'm working with what they're bringing into the room, and we're sometimes with ADHD, like your brain can feel like that. And,
Oh, Dave. I
you
think that's with ADHD. Is that not the
well,
norm?
it can be with other things as well, but
Feel a bit
sometimes
like
it's
that
about
sometimes.
sometimes it's about, helping people slow things down, and maybe, like you were saying, I'm talking a lot, but that's my, I think you said that's my ADHD brain. And that's, that is something that I have seen, and it's your way of processing. You're talking and processing at the same time. And sometimes I might use this, which is something I created, and I might say to the person, let's let's pull out one of these. Okay, so what could that represent? Of all the things that you've spoken about so far, what could be one of those things that we can focus on just for right now? And then they will choose a particular topic of what they've been talking about, and so will bring the focus back, which it can be challenging, but through helping them and supporting them do that, you're kind of helping them come back to something that is important, and maybe just focus for a little while just on that particular thing before we move forward again.
Helpful,
Yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah.
So as I said, I can give you the name of, or I can give it to Althea because I can't think of it. It could be Melios, Melios, the organisation that does
Right.
ADHD and autistic assessments that that you might want to have a look at, and just research maybe some other organizations. There are different organizations out there, but you can get an idea of what it might look like if you facilitated that path for your son to go down.
Yeah, because I think it's more the the tools that you can have and use, because I've never been diagnosed with ADHD. I just think I probably got it, and the same as my husband, because it was a
Mm.
stigma back then. You think Asperger's, you got frowned upon. And I think now,
Yes.
actually, the same as autism, we're all on the spectrum. And I think it's actually quite helpful to know if you've got it, to be able to basically adapt your life and work with it. And just for him
Yeah.
going forward in life, he can, because basically children now, if they get diagnosed like when they get extra time for exams and things, if their brain
Mm.
doesn't is not as sharp, and you think, oh, so I
And
think, yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, you've just reminded me of a little book that I bought, which is absolutely brilliant, and it's a very simple read. It's called The Secret Life of Rose, um, and it shares the perspective of a neurodivergent child and their mother, who is the mother and also a specialist in the field, and she's also neurodivergent herself. And one of the things that I really like about the book is Dr. Luke Bearden, his golden equation, which is autism plus environment equals outcome. So it's really highlighting the environment, and having a really to create a really supportive environment is key for outcomes.
Yeah. Well, that sounds a really interesting book. I've got a lot of shelf development going on in my house, but I think a book like that would be an easy read and very useful. So thank you.
yes, and although it's from the perspective of a child, I think
Oh,
it's really I've gone through the book and I've highlighted different things, and you might have a read of it, and some of these things might they may resonate with you.
resonate,
They
yes.
may resonate with your son. um, you might find that helpful in terms of, where you are at the moment, because you said, I'm not diagnosed, but I suspect I might be ADHD. My son might be, my husband might be. So it's sort of, it might be something that resonates with you.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Right, sorry, let someone else speak now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for your question and exploring that area, because many other people might be feeling the same or experiencing similar things, either on this call or people listening to the recording. And Kathy, you've actually written a book yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about?
I have written a book. It's a memoir, and I haven't got it right here in front of me. Hang on a sec. Let me grab it.
We'll just do a little sing and dance, fill the gap. And if you do have, if any of this talk is resonating with you, do get in contact with Kathy. I'm just going to be sharing her contact details in a moment. Yeah, share us your book.
So this is a book I wrote, Making Up for Lost Time, The Journey. And I started it many, many years ago. It's probably about 18 years ago. And then it's, life, work, things got caught up, and I put it aside. But when I traveled, because you can see that that's me. And that's on my travels. That was through Machu Picchu, actually. And I used my experiences of traveling, which I did not long after I lost my father to cancer. And I used my journal entries and my experiences to write a memoir. And for me, it gave me a voice, and also because I've written it many years after it, it allowed me more insight, and using my own psychological background and counselling experience to be able to put a different perspective on it. But it also gave me a voice for those experiences. So yeah, it's a slice of my life, and I do think that it has helped. My own loss experiences around grief and loss have helped to guide my own work and my own empathy around difficult relationships, and how to negotiate, grief and loss, but just how to negotiate difficult relationships. I think it's been it's been very, very valuable for me. So yes, that's
Deepens your understanding, deepen your empathy for other people going through something similar. And relationships are a major, major, major part of a human experience, isn't it? We have relationships with ourselves, and
we
never
do.
mind everybody else. We
The
do.
most important relationship is the one you have with
Yeah.
yourself.
Absolutely. So, Kathy, it's been absolutely fascinating. I've never spoken to a counsellor before, knowingly. So, I've really appreciated this talk myself, to just hear a little bit deeper about what's the experience of your life, your work. And Rose says, great podcast. Really enjoyed this. Thank you, both of you. You're welcome.
You're welcome, Rose.
I'm only facilitating. Thank you so much, Rose. And so where do people get in touch, Kathy? Where do you mentioned online, and then but you actually work in a school. You've developed therapeutic group program as well. But
I
so
do,
do you work
yes,
in?
yeah. So I do. I'll say it very quickly because I know that we're probably coming to the end. But I do run wellbeing workshops at the school I work at, and I have run workshops around the connection between neurodiversity and depression, because there is a strong link there. And I run workshops around friendship, bullying, and social media at school, and I'm currently putting together a group therapy for neurodivergent students, which is really exciting.
Fantastic. This is in a so anyone any young person can join this workshop, or is this just for that
No,
school?
it is something that particular children will be selected to go on it that are on the counselling waiting list, and they will be selected, and it will be a very small group, because it will probably be about 4 people, but yeah, they're all sort of students who are in need of counselling, but it's a way of being able to reach them in a group setting and be able to support them.
And this is people, young people can apply to through the counselling list, but it's for any young people that's put forward to the list. Then, and is that whereabouts is this?
No, this is just for the school that I work at. So
Okay,
I'm doing
right.
this just for the school that I work at.
Mhm.
But I may run a group therapy in my private practice
Mhm.
for neurodivergent young people and adults. That's something that I may look at down the track.
Okay. And then anyone who would want to explore counselling with you themselves as adults, how do they get in contact with you? Where do they come somewhere? Is it online or?
So yes, I have a website, um, and I'm also on the BACP website, which is the British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapy. Um, and I'm on counselling directory as well. And
And I'll put all these links in the show notes
yeah,
afterwards, so
I'm
everyone can get
also
in
on
contact with you.
LinkedIn. You'll find me on LinkedIn as well. And my book's on Amazon.
Okay, fantastic. Lots of information, lots of contact. And anybody who's listening to this, either here on the call or listening to the replay, please do get in touch. You're not here to suffer. Here's an option to explore, if this feels right to you. If you feel this was resonating with you with what Kathy's talking about, please do get in touch. Don't suffer a minute longer.
Mm,
Get in touch.
yeah.
Wonderful. So, Kathy, thank you so much for sharing your world and your work and what counselling is all about. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this call, because it wouldn't be collaborative if you weren't here too. And if you would like to book on to the next podcast and come on to the next calls, go to painfreedom.co.uk and see where it says podcast and just click on the link there. Kathy, thank you so much. And I always like to leave my guest with the last word. How would you like to leave people today?
Um, I think what I would like to say is that, too often people keep things in, over, short periods of time, over long periods of time. They push things down, they try to carry on. But it does become an internal weight in your life, and it can impact on different areas of your life. So, what I would say is, the best gift that you can give yourself is prioritizing your well-being and giving your feelings a voice.
Perfect. Perfect note to end on. Thank you so much, Kathy. And do get in touch with Kathy if you need some help.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank,
everybody.
thank you for having me, Althea.
You're welcome. Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.